Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I, an American, am going to be trying whiskey for the first time, which is something I have wanted to do for quite a while now, but haven't been willing to do due to some allergies I have. However, what I have with me today is a bottle of 100% straight corn whiskey. And since I'm not allergic to corn, I can drink this whiskey without fear. And so as such, I am very, very, very excited to finally be drinking whiskey for the first time today. I have been wanting to drink whiskey for quite a while now, for probably the last year and a half, 2 years now, and I just haven't been able to. Now that I finally have a bottle with me, oh man, I'm so excited, and I am looking forward to finding out just what whiskey is like, what I think of it, whether I like it or not, and I'm looking forward to letting y'all know just my opinion on whiskey based off this first experience as well. Will I like whiskey? Will I not? I don't know, but I'm very excited to find out. Let me tell y'all what. But what is the whiskey that I have with me today? Well, what I've got with me today is a bottle of some Platte Valley 100% straight corn whiskey, which was made by the McCormick Distilling Company in Weston, Missouri, and cost me $26.95 for this 750 milliliter bottle at my local liquor store. The whiskey inside this bottle has an ABV of 40%, a proof of 80, and was supposedly aged for 3 years as well, which, based off some stuff I've read online, is somewhat uncommon for a whiskey of this type, although I don't really know what that means in all honesty. But I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and do a quick 360 of this very nice looking earthenware jug that the whiskey actually came in. Then after that, I think I should probably go ahead and get the lid all off, go ahead and give this whiskey a smell, go ahead and find out just what whiskey smells like for the first time. And then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and pour some in a glass, take a little bit of a sip, and actually get to drinking some whiskey, well, for the first time. As said, first off though, we got to do a quick 360 of this very nice earthenware jug, which in my opinion looks quite nice if I do say so myself. The barcode back here, some extra information back here, plus a little bit of a warning label and everything like that. Just says made in USA right there on the back. Has a little bit of a handle, brown up top, sort of beige at the bottom and everything like that kind of thing. Overall, I think this looks very, very, very nice, and I really like the blue on the front. Just says Platte Valley in a very nice stylized way since 1856, supposedly. There's a little bit of like a pilgrim or a wizard on the front right there or something like that kind of thing. 100% straight corn whiskey, selected and bottled by McCormick Distilling Company, Weston, Missouri. 40% alcohol per volume, 80 proof. Tells you all the information you need to know while looking good in my personal opinion, and it says McCormick once again right there. Overall, I think, well, this looks pretty good in my personal opinion. I really do think it looks quite good. Up here it just says Platte Valley on this little bit of a label just right there, and it just says since 1856 once again. Let's go ahead and see if I can either get this label off or just break it. I'm just going to try to break it in all honesty so I can go ahead and get this all opened up. But let's go ahead and get this all opened up now that I've shown you guys what's going on with the bottle and everything like that. And I think this looks pretty nice. I don't really see too many bottles of alcohol in general these days and earthenware jugs, and I don't think there really have been too many bottles of alcohol in earthenware jugs for probably the last 30 years or so. So this is definitely pretty unique to me, I'll admit. But let's go ahead and see if I can get this all opened up, just kind of going like that. Is this a screw top? I assume it's probably a cork because this is earthenware, but maybe it is not. I am, real quick, I'm going to put this back and I am going to set this down on the table I'm sitting at right now because I don't want to spill everything everywhere. Is this a cork? Or is this? I think this is a cork. Okay, good. I was like, I don't know how they would do a thread in earthenware. Like, that would be wild, but I wasn't sure if maybe that's what they did. Let's see, though. Oh, there we go. Very nice noise, Cena. This is just like a little bit of a rubber cork, I'd have to say. Let's go ahead and just smell this. Okay. Interesting. It's, I'd have to say, Smell-wise, similar yet different. when compared to what I'm used to. I am, when it comes to liquor, more of a rum drinker than not. That tends to be what I go for these days. I'll admit, I tried rum for the first time a couple months back, and I really like it. I've been trying a lot of different rums. And this very much has a, not rum-like smell per se, but a very liquor-y like smell. To nobody's surprise, because, well, this is a liquor. I'll admit, though, I was kind of expecting it to smell a little bit different. Like, in my opinion, like, most vodkas smell quite different than rums. I'm honestly kind of surprised at how similar this smells to, well, rum I've had before. Now, it does have a different smell, of course. It's not, I wouldn't say that this smells exactly like rum by any means, but I could definitely see a rum smelling like this. This just doesn't smell like rums I've had previously. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe the smell. This is a 100% straight corn whiskey. But I'm trying to think if it really smells like corn or not. And what I'm getting is very much that of a sort of alcohol, sort of... I'm getting a sort of alcohol, like a liquor alcohol sort of smell with sort of a slightly sweet undertone. I'd have to say a little bit of maybe vanilla and caramel. Maybe a little bit of corn, but not like baked corn, not like fresh corn on the cob. If I was to describe a corn smell from this, it would be like freshly shucked corn. That's what I would say. It would be like freshly shucked corn, in all honesty. That would kind of be what I think it would smell like, in all honesty. Very interesting. Well, this is a tiny little hole right here. I think I might get a better idea of what this whiskey actually smells like once I pour it in my glass. I've got right here, this is a Crown Royale glass, as we can see. Got it from the thrift shop for like 99 cents. Great deal in my personal opinion. But let's go and pour some of this whiskey in. And then after that, I'm going to go and smell it just a little bit more, see if I can notice anything else now that it's actually going to be in the glass. And then after that, I think I'm going to go and take a sip. So let's go ahead and just pour this in just a little bit. Ooh, I don't want too much, but that should do. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get the cork back in just real quick. Oh, God, no! It went on the ground. No, I don't want... I'm going to go rinse this off real quick, y'all. I will be right back. I just went ahead and just quickly rinsed it off. Hopefully it's all good now. Let's see if I can get it back in. That's very tough, though. Wow. Oh, my God. That is super tough. That is really tough. That is probably the toughest cork I have had to get in a bottle of liquor so far, in all honesty. Let's go and bring my tripod back up just a little bit and take a little bit of a smell of this. Color-wise, it's very interesting. It's kind of like a greenish sort of yellow. It's kind of pissish. I don't normally describe alcohol as kind of being kind of pissish. But, I mean, like, I can't really think of a better adjective to use to describe the color of this. It's kind of like green piss, in all honesty. It doesn't look bad by any means. It doesn't look unappetizing, but it's definitely different than what I'm used to when it comes to, like, rum or something like that kind of thing, I'd have to say. It's definitely got a slightly different color, that sort of green color. That's something I'm not used to seeing from liquor, I'll acknowledge. That is definitely different. And the smell has definitely lightened up a little bit now that I've got it in a glass. Yeah, I'd have to say the most prominent smell from this liquor is very much that of a, slightly spicy, sort of alcohol-like smell, with undertones of, I'd have to say, definitely like a little bit of corn. It's kind of hard to notice through the alcohol flavor, or not flavored, smell. It's kind of hard to notice, but there's definitely, I feel like, a little bit of corn going on in there. Do I still think it smells like freshly shucked corn? Just kind of smells like corn, in all honesty. I wouldn't really describe it as smelling freshly shucked anymore. It just kind of smells like corn. Not cornbread, not corn on the cob, just kind of corn, in all honesty. Excuse me. And then I'd have to say, I want to say there's a little bit of vanilla and caramel in there as well. So it's very much a slightly sort of spicy alcohol with a little bit of corn. I'd have to say, yeah, slightly spicy alcohol, corn, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of caramel, and that's very much what the smell of this liquor, of this whiskey, is actually like, in my personal opinion. Definitely smells, I'll admit, surprisingly similar yet different to what I'm used to when it comes to liquor. I, as previously said, have been drinking a lot of rum lately. My kind of liquor of choice these days is rum, I'll acknowledge, and I really enjoy it. And while this does smell different in some ways than rum, for sure, I'm not going to get a rum that's going to smell like corn, frankly put. It smells very similar in other ways, like, let's say, the alcohol itself, the alcohol smell itself, doesn't smell too different than rum. Although, I'd have to say, overall, this does smell less sweet. It definitely does smell less sweet than rum, for sure. It's definitely more of a savory sort of smell rather than being a sort of sweet-like smell, which is what you normally get from rum. So, I'd have to say, really, the main difference between the smell of this and the smell of rum really is the lack of sweetness, and the corn smell as well. You're not going to get a corn smell from rum, I'd imagine, at least. But the sort of alcoholiness itself, surprisingly similar, along with the vanilla and caramel, kind of surprisingly similar, in all honesty, frankly put. But, definitely a little bit less of a sweet smell than I'm used to, although there's still some sweetness in there for sure. And definitely just that corn smell is quite different than what I'm used to. Yeah, very interesting. It's surprisingly similar yet different to what I'm used to, and I really wasn't expecting that, in all honesty. Well, I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and grab myself a little bit of a screenshot for the thumbnail of this video, I do think, before I go and take a sip. So let's go ahead and do that real quick if I possibly can. Bring that up just a little bit. Bring it down just a little bit. There we go, there we go. Alrighty, let's see if I can grab myself a little bit of a screenshot real quick. Move that over. There's just a little bit of white right there from the door. Oh man, this jug is hard to hold with one hand, though, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Oh man. My hand just keeps slipping. I'm just glad I haven't dropped it. Alrighty. Hopefully one of those will do for a screenshot for this video. I can always grab another one after this video if need be, of course. But I do suppose, without further ado, it is now time for me to go ahead and try, well, whiskey for the first time. It's time for me, an American cigarette smoker at that, to try whiskey for the first time. Will I like it? Will I not? I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Oh, man. Well, let's find out. I'm going to take a tiny little baby sip. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wow. That's different. That is very different. Just right off the bat. Oh, wow. That is very different. Smell-wise, I was surprised at how similar, yet different, the whiskey and rum that I'm used to. Well, the whiskey and rum that I'm used to. The rum that I'm used to is compared to this whiskey. I was very surprised at how kind of similar-esque the smells were, in all honesty. Maybe it's just me, I'm not sure. Taste-wise, though, different. For sure, different. I'm not exactly sure what the flavor was right off the bat. I only had like a little tiny baby sip, I'll acknowledge. But definitely, initially, less spice in the back of my throat than I get from rum, for one. Also, not quite sweet in the same way, and just the flavor profile itself is different, as to be expected, because it's a completely different type of liquor made with a completely different substance after all. Wow. Very smooth as well. Very smooth. Wow. I don't know if it's just the last couple sips I've taken. I might come back and regret this statement, but this is coming across as smoother than drinking rum right now. Like, I've drank some rum straight, and I'm like, yeah, it's like okay to drink straight, but you try to drink it straight to any real extent, and you're kind of like, oh man, it's kind of too much. It's putting this in rum and coke kind of thing. This is easier to sip straight than, I'd have to say, a decent amount of the rums I've tried. I don't know if that's indicative of all whiskeys out there. I have no idea. But at least this bottle, this specific whiskey, I personally think is easier to sip straight than some rums I've tried. Not all, but some rums I've tried for sure, and some rums that are in a comparable price point to this. I might come back to regret that statement, though. Wow. I am impressed at how smooth it is. I am very impressed at how smooth it is. I genuinely was not expecting it to be that smooth. I expected it to be, I'll be honest with you, a little bit rougher than it is. I mean, like, this is a $27 bottle of rum, essentially. Or not rum, whiskey. This is a $27 bottle of whiskey. It's not an expensive bottle of whiskey. It's not even like $50 or something like that kind of thing. And it's a whiskey that online, people say it's like all right, but it's not like the best thing ever kind of thing. So I really was expecting to be quite rough. It's not. It's not particularly rough. It's actually surprisingly smooth. And there's really, there's a little bit of burning in the back of my throat, but it's not nearly as intense as any rum I've tried, in all honesty. Is rum burn just a thing with rum, or is it a thing with other liquors as well? I've got no idea. It's a thing with vodka too, I'm sure, because I hate vodka and it burns like hell. But like, I can stand the rum burn, but this is an even more like mild burn than like even the most mildest burning rums I've had. Huh. I am, right now, quite surprised, I'll acknowledge. I'm trying to find words right now. Wow, yeah. There's a little bit of roughness, but when it comes to sipping stuff, this is so easy. This is so easy to sip. This whiskey is just as easy to sip as something like, let's say, the Appleton 12 rum for example. In my opinion, it's easier to sip than the Mount Gay Black Barrel. And probably all other rums I've tried so far. What? I'm now kind of regretting letting myself try whiskey. I mean, like, I had no reason not to try this whiskey. I can drink it. I'm not allergic to anything in this whiskey. But now that I've tried this whiskey, I now want to try so many more. And I am afraid to drink so many of them because I have allergies. Oh, man. Oh, man. Now I want to try so many more whiskeys. Bruh. Oh, man. Oh, man. Thankfully, there's more, like, corn whiskeys out there. This is the only one they sell in my local area. They do sell mellow corn in my local area. Mellow corn is not 100% corn, though. It's 80% corn mash with malt and, I think, wheat and rye as well. Don't quote me on that, though. But I know it's an 80% corn mash. And due to it containing stuff I can't have within the mash, I'm not willing to drink mellow corn. But this is 100% corn whiskey. And they do make other 100% corn whiskeys out there, but they're not easy to find in my local area. It took me quite a while to find the one I've got with me today. They don't sell it at but one liquor store in my local area, and I'm very glad they do sell it at that one liquor store. Now there is like some like moonshine that is sold in my local area that is made with 100% corn, so I'm gonna have to take a look at that too. I do think it's distilled in the same way as whiskey supposedly, so yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. This is very interesting though. Taste-wise, I'm still trying to think of what the taste is. It's different. It's very different than I'm used to as somebody who normally drinks rum. But I want to go and figure out what the flavor is like. Even though I let that sit in my mouth, very smooth. I'm getting no sort of kind of thing from it at all. Wow. Wow. I'd have to say this whiskey, there's not too much going on flavor-wise. From the beginning, the flavor I've been getting has been pretty much the same, but maybe a little bit more intense because it's been building by my mouth. And that's really all. It's just kind of been the same flavor, just getting more intense kind of thing. I'm not really getting any significant amount of dynamicness where I'm noticing the flavor changing. I'm still trying to think of what the flavor actually is. But, I'd have to say, I think I'm getting, kind of getting a cornbread-like flavor, oddly enough. Like, this doesn't smell like baked cornbread, but I'm kind of getting a cornbread-like flavor from this stuff. Very interesting. Just naming kind of what I'm thinking the flavor's like right off the bat. I'm kind of thinking I'm getting actually the alcohol taste I would have to say is not the most prominent. I'm like, it's really surprisingly not prominent in all honesty. I'm getting very much that of a brown sugar, sort of slightly molassesy flavor, I think, with undertones of cornbread and a little bit of vanilla. Maybe caramel. Maybe I'm thinking the brown sugar molasses, maybe that's actually caramel. It could be. Or maybe that's where the sort of brown sugar molasses is coming from. Maybe it's coming from a caramel flavor. I'd have to say, okay, now I am not an expert when it comes to taste testing tobacco. I was about to say tobacco. I do have more experience taste testing tobacco than I do alcohol. I am not an expert at taste testing alcohol by any means. I do have experience taste testing tobacco, though. I was about to say I'm not an expert taste testing tobacco. Well, I'm not, technically not. I'm just a guy, but I have experience at least. But when it comes to alcohol, I don't even really have that much experience. Of course, I've never even tried whiskey before. And really, my only experience is with rum. But I would have to say the flavor I'm getting, it's very much that of a... Oh, it's surprisingly mild. It's definitely not quite as up in my face as rum is, in my opinion. Like rum, most of the rums I've tried have a more up in your face flavor than not. Even when they have undertones going on, it's still a much more up in your face flavor than not. This is very mild, and so it's kind of one of those things where I'm just sipping and I can so easily ignore the flavor. And since I'm not really actively paying attention to it, I am accidentally ignoring the flavor, which is not a bad flavor. It's a pretty nice flavor. It's very smooth as a whole, as previously said as well. I'm just missing the flavor, though. So I'd have to say it's sort of like an alcohol cornbread sort of like flavor with undertones of, yeah, I want to say vanilla and caramel. I was thinking that there was some of that sort of brown sugar molasses in there, but I think that taste was just kind of coming from the caramel, and I want to say there's a little bit of caramel in there, in all honesty. Yeah, very interesting. And it's also very interesting that, I mean, like, I get a sort of vanilla caramel sort of flavor sometimes from rum as well. However, the way it comes across in rum versus in whiskey is quite different. And just, even though I'm getting some of the same undertones from this whiskey as I might get from some rums I try, the way it comes across, it's different. And so it's not quite exactly the same by any means. Well, just to be expected, it's a completely different type of liquor after all. But it's very interesting nonetheless. Yeah, very interesting. Ooh, a little bit of roughness there. Yeah, I'd have to say, ignoring the alcohol taste, it's very much out of a sweet cornbread sort of flavor. Like, it's corn and cornbread. It's not just cornbread. It's not just corn. It's cornbread. So it's corn and cornbread. So sort of I'd have to say a savory corn-like taste with a sweet cornbread-like taste with then undertones of vanilla and caramel. And those are more in the background than not, as they are the undertones after all, of course. So the flavor of the Platte Valley corn whiskey is, in my personal opinion, very much that of a savory, sweet corn with the savoriness, cornbread with the sort of savoriness and sweetness, and then under that there's a little bit of vanilla and caramel, in my personal opinion. And that's very much the taste I've gotten all the way through. Now that I'm thinking about it, the taste I got on the first sip is pretty much the same as the taste I got on the last sip. It's not a dynamic tasting liquor by any means, but it is a pretty solid tasting one, and a more mild tasting one than not. And if I was to mix this with Coke or something like that kind of thing, I personally think that the flavor of this whiskey would probably disappear very easily, in all honesty. And I think that the whiskey and Coke would probably be very smooth, in all honesty, as well, because this is very smooth. I don't know if all whiskeys are this smooth, but this is very smooth, at least in my experience. Of course, other people may disagree. This might be considered rough whiskey. If it is considered rough whiskey, well, I'm bodying this stuff. I would doubt it is, though. It's only 40% alcohol after all. I'm sure there's overproof whiskey out there that is insanely strong. Yeah. No, I like it. I like it. I like the Platte Valley corn whiskey. I'm sure there are many better whiskeys out there. In fact, I know there are many better whiskeys out there. This one, I'll acknowledge, it gets, I mean, like, pretty solid reviews online. People say it's a decent whiskey. But they do also clarify that it's not the best whiskey in the world. And so I'm sure there are Betty White, Betty Crocker, Betty Whiskey. I'm sure there are better whiskeys out there. In fact, I know there are. But I'm very glad I made this whiskey, the Platte Valley whiskey, my first whiskey to try. I'm very glad I made this one my first whiskey, in all honesty. And overall, I gotta admit, I've had a much better experience than that today. The whiskey I tried today, my first ever time trying whiskey, overall a very good experience. The whiskey itself was surprisingly smooth, a lot smoother than I thought it was going to be. Had a much more mild flavor than not, had a more different flavor in a different way than I kind of expected. Like, I was expecting a different flavor, but it was different in a different way than I really expected, yet similar at the same time to kind of what I'm used to. And it was just pretty solid as a whole. Based off of this one experience at least, can I say that I, as an American, like whiskey? Yeah, no, I can. Now, of course, I've only ever tried whiskey once, and I still love my rum. And when it comes to, let's say, if I was to wanting to be smoking a cigar or something like that kind of thing while sipping on some liquor, what would I choose, this whiskey or rum? I'd be choosing my rum, in all honesty. But if I just wanted to sip without smoking anything or something like that kind of thing, you know, honestly, it would be very tempting to choose this. It really would be. Not more so than some of the nicer rums I've got or I've tried in the past, but it would be an option that I would be like, yeah, I kind of want some whiskey. I kind of want to switch it up today. To say the least, I think I like whiskey based off this one experience at least, and I think I will be looking for more whiskeys to try in the future, and I think I will be drinking the rest of this bottle and enjoying the rest of this bottle. I'll acknowledge you. I think I will most certainly be doing that, and I think I can say with confidence I have had a much better experience than not trying whiskey for the first time today. Very glad to have tried whiskey for the first time, and I'm looking forward to drinking this rest of the bottle and hopefully trying many more whiskeys in the future. There's a couple different corn whiskeys out there I really want to try. I think there's there's like one or two from, I want to say, Texas. They're corn whiskeys, and they're like, I think it's like Hudson Baby Blue or something like that. I think I can't remember the name of the brand. I don't think Hudson might be the wrong name. I think there's one from Virginia, one from South Carolina, one from New York. No, that one's not corn whiskey anymore. They changed the mash. There's one from, I think, Canada as well. There's a bunch of different corn whiskeys I want to try. I just need to figure out how to get my hands on them and try those in the future. And I'm looking forward to trying those whenever the opportunity occurs. Let me tell y'all what. Very glad to have tried this one right here. Very glad to have tried this whiskey. Very thankful to have tried whiskey for the first time today. And I'm very glad I had a much better experience than not. Overall, did I have a good experience today? I'd have to say I did. Do I enjoy the Platte Valley 100% straight corn whiskey? I'd have to say I do. And I'm looking forward to drinking the rest of the bottle. What's the rating I want to give this specific whiskey? Oh, probably a 3 out of 4. Like a high 3 out of 4. Not a 4 out of 4, I'll acknowledge. But I think a high 3 out of 4 is very deserving for it, frankly put. It's nice tasting, smooth, but there's just not quite enough dynamicness to quite make it where it's a 4 out of 4. But it's still pretty solid, so it gets the 3 out of 4 rating from me. Certainly no complaints on my behalf. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video where I tried whiskey for the first time. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my other channels, all in the description down below. Go check them all out. To the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?